And we are live, broski.
Yo, Texan Ads here for our Tuesday night open session. The first one we've done in quite a little bit of time. Really excited to do this with you. In case you haven't heard, we've scrapped the premium. Everything is now free from UTG. Tuesday, Thursday nights, sort of 7:30, 8-ish. Every Tuesday, Thursday night, we'll be doing these open public scans. If you aren't joining us in the Discord at the moment, unitytradinggroup.com. The charts and the setups have been phenomenal in the last couple of weeks. 60s plus % on Atom. We've had ADA trade setups. We did ERD, did 124%. Admittedly, was not in that for that long by any means whatsoever. But things like Ion, Matic, RVN. Let's have a look at some of the trade setups that we've shared this week. XTZ, BNB. XTC, BTC, and USD pairs. Atom 55%. Algo. What else have we shared? OMG. A ton of trades have been really, really great this week, and it's phenomenal that we get a chance, ads, to now share that publicly with the people and getting back to that mission of sharing all this stuff and the sort of the free. Sort of plan that we had for a very long time with UTG, why we started this to sort of give back and help traders be in a position that we wish we had, or a community we wish we had when we first started trading. So really excited to share tonight with you. Obviously the trade poncho is on. Things have not changed. We're definitely seeing a pullback in the market at the moment. We're going to look at some FX pairs tonight as well. We've got our FX channel, which we've opened up inside Discord now freely for everyone that has been absolutely on fire. All the boys in there: Eric, Zoff, Dara, Billy, Matt, you guys, Fergs, obviously you're in there as well. Boys, Jack killing it in there at the minute. Dory, amazing to see you guys in there, and that is starting to tick over just as quickly now as what the crypto charts are. So amazing to be a part of that. But ads, I'm going to shut up. Let's get into the scan. We're going to look at BTCF, and then we're going to look at some altcoins. I've got some requests there that people have asked for. Going to have a look at a few pairs that we shared last week on my solo alt scan, and then we're going to have a quick look at the reg markets. Now, we do have to say straight off the bat, anything that we share from the regulated Forex market is purely just TA and just educational purposes only. It is not trade calls. We are not providing calls or signals whatsoever. So please do not take anything we say when it comes to Forex or this market as financial advice. Ads, take it away.
Thanks, bro. So Bitcoin is where we usually start on a Tuesday night. It's in an interesting spot. Sort of, not really, to be honest, bro. Because we have really just been ranging sideways for the last couple of days to weeks. I would think weeks. Even since the 25th of June, we've just been moving to the right. Yeah, we've had some noise in between. That's fantastic, but it's just been purely moving to the right, and you've made the most out of this. We all have in the Discord with the alts being able to flourish during this time. But what I'd like to point out with BTC right now, and I did mention this yesterday. I did do a BTC update yesterday, and I wanted to really point out the higher time frames because of a couple of key things. And, myself included, we're all really, really focused on the low time frames here. In the last couple of, I've noticed in the last probably fortnight, even a little bit longer than that, we've all been focused on the 4 hour, even smaller than that. And we haven't really taken in the bigger picture. Let me get rid of this trend line now. But we haven't really taken in the bigger picture of what's going on with BTC. So let's just break it down to as simple as it can get. All right. So if I zoom out just a little bit further so you guys can see what I'm looking at, is that we have a pretty substantial level of supply here. All right. With our retest just here on the 26th of October, and again on, around the 3rd, the 12th and the 14th of Feb. And a fourth time on the 1st of June. Right now, the only substantial level of demand that I'm looking at in terms of a daily time frame would be here on this market pivot, which occurred on the 10th of May, which would be 8750 or 8800, just to make it a little bit easier. And of course, there are some levels hidden in between, but the most substantial level being that. So since being rejected at 10,250 or roughly 10.3 on that wick, we have continuously made lower highs and descending market structure. So we are continuing this move to the downside, pretty reliably at this point, Ty, I think. And we haven't made any substantial movements, in my opinion, substantial movements on the daily time frame to warrant any, substantial moves back to 10,300, 10,400 as of yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely a mistake well, not so much a mistake, but I think definitely a mindset that people get into in BTC is ranging is sort of looking for that trading hit, looking for that little bit of excitement. So we go down to the 5, the 10, the 15, the 1 hour, trying to look and trying to confirm a bias. When things are stagnant like this, or we're ranging within sort of $500, we're looking for that big move. So in times like this, honestly, I have not looked at anything below the 4 hour in what feels like weeks. It's purely just been daily and 4 hour to confirm any entries that I might have. If I've had any entries which have been nominal, I had that buy hit at 8,950. That was just a spot buy. And has sort of just been sitting around there for a little bit. And like I said, and have said many times, I've got buys layered all the way down to 7.7. And then put a little cheeky one down at 6.8 the other day. Not because I think we will get there, but when you see activity like this that I've pointed out so many times before, when you see these types of wicks, we've seen it plenty of times beforehand. Whether it be to the downside or the upside, you cannot. You cannot discount anything like that. But yeah, as Ad said, still in this descending structure. Some people have are talking about that thing, this wedge that we have going on here. which we've seen a lot of times on a number of alts at the moment before breaks to the upside. But the volume and the reaction off these levels just doesn't support any major moves to the upside as of yet. So as I said last week, I said if we were to continue upwards, that supply zone that ads has there at 9697 would really be the top for me, where I definitely would be looking for shorts. But as I sort of said, I thought we would go up to sort of 9.3 and then we would reject down to sort of 9.1. I've got 9.217 was a level, 9.119, and then essentially the 8.850 is the next sort of level, or 8.812 is really the level that I've sort of got set there. But admittedly, not really trading BTC much at all, just because I've been heavily in a number of alt positions. I'm really just looking at US, the USD pairs of the Bitcoin USD, ETH and ETH BTC for gauges on what the rest of the market is doing. So BTC doesn't really have my attention at the moment, but I think when we do get a substantial move, it will be large. But as someone said the other day in the Discord, this is the most, vague sort of market. We're going to get a move one way, we're going to get a move the other way. But admittedly, if I was trading BTC more, I might be able to give you a more defined answer. But right now, I'm really just looking for anything for moves to the downside, nothing larger than 9.7 in this case, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would completely and totally agree with that. If we zoom in a little bit to the 4 hour and break it down a little bit further for the guys at the moment, there is some levels that I'm looking at just for now. Obviously, first of which being the 9050 level, where we had this substantial wick down and buy back up. And it does look like we are moving towards that zone again, where we have tested that 50 fib retrace and again been rejected. And also this 38, we are moving underneath now. So the next one I would be looking for right now, if I had to on BTC, would be the 23, 9118 or 9120. And then, of course, our level at 9050. And then pending a break or a buy up. So we'll see what happens when we get there, Ty. I think, hang on, I've lost his mic.
Oh, sorry, ETHUSD. Let's have a look at ETHUSD.
ETHUSD, there we go. So ETHUSD is in a little bit of a different spot, to be honest with you, where we had our level drawn up from a little while ago now, from the 11th of June, and being rejected once, twice in July and late June as well. I've drawn fibs from the current swing high to swing low to see where these pushes would end or start to get rejected, and 78.6 being one of the main levels that we look for a last point of resistance when we're looking for movements back towards the upside. And we did get rejected, just have a little bit of a front run off that level, and now coming back down and seemingly going to revisit that 00 or 236 on Ethereum USD. We are closing below the 23 at the moment, so that looks like one that we'll revisit, and there isn't any substantial levels to really draw TA or draw your supplies and demands off on the left hand side of this chart. So the next best thing would be these levels here. They are extensions of 27 and 61 on ETH, which is 232 and 227 on ETHUSD on the 4 hour.
Yeah, and as I said last week, we broke a little bit higher than that. This channel that I've had for quite a long time now is between 231, 235.65 and 242.18. And while we got to 245.21, that was pretty much in line with what we had suspected with ETH that would occur. And I said it could go as high as 245, but from there I'd be looking for shorts. I did not take a short, admittedly. I didn't follow my own advice or my own TA there. But where you mentioned there, for me, that 236 area is relevant. Also lines up quite well with our 100 MA. This is on the 4 hour on Bitfinex, and then down at the bottom of the 4 hour Kumo and the 200 aligns with sort of 233.30. By the time it sort of gets there, will be about 233.50, 234. So looking at Steamroller gave us a really good overbought sort of signal. This overbought signal here was profound, and then coming down, admittedly looking at Steamroller now, showing us that we still have a little bit of room to move to the downside. So these fib levels that ads has drawn up seem pretty relevant to me, and then obviously looking at this structure too, still haven't made any type of higher high at this stage. So we could just continue sort of down within this this sort of parallel channel if that's the case.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. Well, let's have a look at XRP USD, and then what we'll do is we will look at some forex pairs, and then I'll do a quick alt scan, and then we shall wrap it up.
So XRP, I'll really zoom out onto the daily to see what the hell's going on with this. The 4 hour is a little bit of chop, and it's not showing much. But in the event of the daily on XRP, so we have had this this fib drawn in for quite some time now, which is swing low to swing high on XRP. And when we did bounce off that level of demand and start forming these ones, we did have this drawn in also, which was this major pivot at 24 cents, where price did come down, create that pivot point there to continue towards the downside there. But since then, we've had this falling wedge drawn in, and been following XRP USD for a number of weeks now on a Tuesday and a Thursday night. And finally, we did get that break of that zone, and back towards that 23.6 fib level now, and which we have been rejected on. But honestly, Ty, we could probably do something along the lines of these ones here if we go into the 4 hour. And draw that the right way. We could be seeming to do the same sort of thing that we did just previously here, where we're just doing it on a bigger scale. So something like this could be on the cards for XRP, where we could retest that 23.6. Otherwise, if this formation doesn't work out, and we fail to break to the upside, I could see 18 and 19 cents be tested again, and that would substantially be our downtrend line also on a daily time frame. So we could break up towards that 23, or we could test the waters at 38. But looking at this formation on the smaller time frames, we could see that 23.6. It remains to be seen, though. I wouldn't hold your breath on XRP anytime soon.
It's kind of in no man's land, isn't it? Sitting in between these two fibs. We did have a nice reaction there in the past, and if we were going to have upside moves, this would be the formation that I would look at. But admittedly, looking at what we've got now with our RSI and our CCI Steamroller, not really. Although it gave us perfect overbought and oversold conditions and signals here, even this is still quite vague with Steamroller sitting inside this parallel channel. So XRP is going to be very dependent on any sort of BTC move. We see it follow that very closely. So rather than looking at XRP, look to see what BTC is doing, and then I'll probably give you a little bit more of an understanding of where where XRP might be headed in its own right.
Absolutely, and obviously being a USD pair, it will be following the big dog like BTC and ETH. So if they start to fall and test those fibs and demand levels, then we could probably expect XRP to do the same. So
yeah, and we actually have seen it quite a bit. We saw it with FBTC as of late as well, and we've seen it with a number of alts where we have this formation, this this descending wedge that we have, and then we see a break from the wedge, and then a retest, and then a move back up. So if we do not hold this point that we're at the moment, then that's where that 38 lines up quite well, where you may be looking for a retest of this diagonal in the 38 before making another move to the upside. But again, it's going to be dependent on what BTC is doing, so don't jump the gun just yet.
Not at all. Not on XRP anyway. It's
No.
not Ty's favourite on that one.
No, but surprisingly, I have something to share in a little bit
Oh, okay.
when it comes to the BTC pair. So, whoa, I hate this coin with a passion. I like its use case, but for you, this is like your coin, like ridiculous. How anyway, that's your coin. It is not my coin. So, fuck XRP. Let's get into the reg markets for the first time publicly ever. I don't think we have ever shared anything to do with our forex, which is pretty surprising considering we've been doing this for a couple of years now. But excited to share this. And again, I'll just preface this: anything that we share when it comes to forex or regulated markets is not financial advice. So please do not take it as such.
Absolutely, and that'll be outlined in our disclaimer at the end. Also,
yes.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the DXY on top left-hand corner, you can see there is the US dollar currency index. It is the reserve currency of the world financial markets. So this chart is really gauging strength, and it allows us to gauge the strength of USD pairs that are paired against it, mainly some precious metals and the major Forex pairs. But for the DXY, we've been following it for the last couple of weeks in the Discord and on a Tuesday night in our private sessions. But we've been looking at these two major demands very, very closely, and they've been playing out to a T alongside with our fib levels. So if you did our Forex Masterclass, you would be very familiar with this trading strategy by now. In any case, though, we have been really following it descending back towards this level at the 95 level here, which is outlined just to the left of us. And I've been paying close attention to these fib levels on the way down in this wedge or broadening formation here. We've just been ping-ponging between the levels as it moves towards the downside. But last night we did see this, at the waters at about the 38.2, and it did get rejected and close underneath that 6.1 again, which didn't seem very bullish in terms of the DXY and its strength. And subsequently, it did start to descend after that, while the volume came into the market late last night. In taking into consideration we're in Melbourne at the moment, but a little bit of a recovery today and another rejection on that 38.2. Quite a harsh, well, not too harsh, but something decent on the 4 hour, if you can see that on the screen there. So if we do close again below this 6.1, which happens again in an hour's time, I'd probably be more expecting this to continue towards the downside at the 96. And then again at the 127, and then eventually our demand to make a decision on which direction this will probably take after that, whether we continue through this or we start to bounce and look for some shorts or look for some descending structure on a lot of our major pairs. If I move across to the euro, which takes a lot of its data from the DXY, if you could probably see the difference between those two charts pretty much immediately. As DXY is descending, the euro is ascending, and we do have two zones pretty much opposite to what the DXY does have. The top one is a little bit difficult to pick because of this, this structure here to the left, and quite a lot of flopping around and a lot of big candle body closes there. But there is a hidden supply zone if you just look at that one single candle straight through the middle there, and I'll get rid of that so you can see a little bit better. But it has been our target for the last couple of times that we have tested the waters at the 1.13 level. And as the DXY will continue to descend towards that demand down the bottom at that 9.5, as we did previously mention, we could probably expect euro to test the waters again at that 100% fib level. And then, of course, if we do get that break above, we could probably expect it to, more so continue up depending on the movements of that DXY and how far this asset does go in comparison to what we see on that US strength chart in regards to that demand. So right now, looking towards upwards targets, not very far away at the moment, so towards maybe the top of demand and that 100% fib for now. Not making any rash decisions on jumping into shorts at the moment. We're kind of in the middle zone of our indicators, especially Steamroller, which we have our alerts set for the Discord as well if you're part of that. And if you're not, I do invite you to join. But moving on from this, we'll have a quick look at gold. And gold spot has been running up, and I did have a level of supply drawn in at the top here, but I did remove that just recently because we have well and truly gone past it and through it. So I'll just bear with me one tick, and I'll find some more zones or some more levels of interest that we can probably look at. Where are we? Okay, that one. I'd probably choose that one there. That looks okay, and there's nothing more substantial than that probably here, I would think. A little bit close together, but this one here lining up very well with a lot of this structure just to the right of it. So if we fast forward to where we are now, we can see that we are at this level right now at the 1808 dollar mark for gold spot compared against USD. And look, this really comes off the back of that USD chart as well here, Ty, where we're looking at the strength of the USD compared to the strength of precious metals, especially gold, where this would be the safe haven for a lot of stock and forex traders and anyone in particular who wants to hang on to the value of their assets. But if the US dollar does continue to fall, and you could probably see a trend forming here, where in crypto we talk a lot about Bitcoin, in forex we talk a lot about the US dollar strength. If the US dollar strength does continue to fall, we could probably expect gold to continue to rise. This is going to be a difficult range to get through, in my opinion, and I probably wouldn't recommend any rash decisions off these levels without just form a little bit of confirmation before you enter anything, and obviously not financial advice.
And if you want to learn more about how to draw in supply and demand, Ads was the person who brought this over to UTG a few years ago, coming from this forex sort of realm over to crypto. You can go to unitytradinggroup.com/supply and AND, supply and demand. There's also an updated video that we did a few weeks ago with our Inner Circle guys, or our in another life, our previous premium group that we have shared on there, completely open and free as well. And just to retouch on the DXY, we look at DXY to gauge the strength of the other major pairs, similar into the way that we would look at BTC to gauge strength of the market, similar to how it was sort of in 2018 when BTC would pump, we would see a lot of alts pull back and sort of vice versa. It's kind of similar to the DXY. So you look at that to gauge the strength of the markets. As Ad sort of pointed out, when one is declining, typically the major pairs are ascending, so or going up. So don't forget that little point. Always chart your DXY, and then you've got your major pairs there to gauge the strength against.
Absolutely. So moving on with this, Euro is getting close. So gold spot, gold is getting close to topping out on our indicators on the daily time frame. And if you were trading this, you would be paying very close attention to that. If we break in a direction, then you would be looking for confirmations on market direction and structure and everything like that too.
And this is where steamroller shines, our custom indicator that you've seen there. You know, the how well that ties in with forex. Obviously, it's such a more liquid market, so TA and indicators, anything that you use you're going to find are going to be often respected, and steamroller really comes into its own in that. So if anybody is interested in learning more about steamroller, we'll be releasing a little bit of info on that, and the whole slew of indicators that we have in the next little bit. All right, so shall we have a look at should we have a look at our alts
Yes,
ads?
absolutely. So bear with
See
me one
what's
sec,
going
guys.
on.
I'm just going to do a quick transition so the stream will move over to our logo. Hold on one
Not
sec.
shit itself, in
It
other
will
words.
not. It will not. I promise you. Go for it, pro.
So these alts that I'm going to go through tonight are just because we went through them on, I think it was Saturday evening that I shared the alt update with all of these, excluding Dusk, BTC, and XRP BTC. So we know overnight we did have a pretty decent pullback. I was very heavy in Tezos USD pair, and I was sitting here with ads at about midnight last night. And the reason why I look at the 4 hours is to validate entry positions on the daily and to validate exit positions when sort of gauging pullbacks or strength of an alt pairing. And looking at what we saw, I will just show you very quickly. And I got asked a question about this. I don't know, probably a couple of months ago, someone said, you know, if I'm trading a certain region, why am I looking at the 4 hours, or why am I looking at the smaller timeframes? Like, can't I just look at the daily? And I said, well, one thing you need to understand is that when you look at the daily, price action moves can occur over a matter of days, or a candle cannot give you really any validation of whether you're going to enter or exit. And by the time that it does, more often than not, you've missed the move. So I came down to the 4 hour. If I was looking at the daily, this is what I was seeing here. And then I was seeing this little doji candle. I'm like, this is not looking too good. We had this reaction off this parallel channel. And we had this this triangle formation. It's not a real triangle formation, but you can see how it's been rejected from this major point once and then now twice, essentially from this realm. So I ended up getting out at 301. So it was it wasn't necessarily the top, but I came back and I saw this candle playing out here. And at that stage, it was only just starting to turn red. And I saw the weakness in this candle. We had this quite a bit of you could see we had this sort of doji, and you could see the weakness with the bulls trying to push and then being pulled back by the bears. And the length of our wicks were increasing, indicating that there was some sell pressure there. And we're right in the center of this parallel channel that I've drawn up. This parallel channel I've used a lot, and it's respected quite well on XLM, for example. Yeah, there it is. So I had this parallel channel and it was respected quite well. So going back to Tezos, I thought this is the right time to exit. BTC was having a little bit of a shake, as was ETHUSD. And as I've said a million times before, when we start seeing pricing pulling back or price action, you know, or the sellers pulling back, the buyers pulling back and the sellers taking over for the altcoins, the momentum shifts, and then you often see the USD pairs or the BTC and ETHUSD have a move while everyone sort of pulls back. So that's what we saw. So just giving you an understanding now of what I'm seeing on Tezos at the moment. We had a nice bounce from this point of control, this 100 MA that we've got, that's the 50 MA. And then we're now sort of sitting right on top of this diagonal, very similar to what we saw on ETH, or what we've been seeing on ETH-BTC. Steamroller giving us a really beautiful oversold condition both times, as did our other indicators as well. So I want to see what happens around this region now. Looking at the daily, we've definitely had a pretty decent sell-off, but that doesn't necessarily tell me that that we might be completely sold off at this point. I really want to see how this next daily candle reacts around this 61 level. It would give me a lot more confidence of a continued move up if we could break above this 61 or this $2.80 point. It would give me even more bullish validation if we could break above that $3 mark, which I said was going to be significant yesterday when I posted my TA on that. So overall, it's still looking all right. Just because we have this pullback on alts, or we see moves of BTC, it doesn't mean that the alt runs are over. And of course, I'm biased because I'm primarily an alt trader. That's where I make the majority of my sats. But in saying that, you can look at where we are now. Cloud support, very close to having 61 fib support, point of control, diagonal, and MA support. Steamroller telling us we've still potentially got a little bit of room to the upside. It gave us this beautiful oversold signal here as well, as it has here for every other point with Tezos. It's been really, really good in giving us entry or exit conditions. So still favoring some moves to the upside. Yes, our other indicators are starting to look a little bit sort of cooked, but this next daily candle is going to be telling for me. And as we start to approach that Thursday night volatility or Thursday volatility that we see, typically I will start to pull out of my alt positions anyway. And we saw this last Thursday where alts pulled back quite heavily on Thursday night. And then they continued sort of onwards with their push over the course of the weekend and leading up to last night as well. So could we see something similar play out like that? I'm hopeful of that, and the fact that we've made a higher high here, it's still within this parallel channel. So I want to see the reaction over the next day or so for Tezos. Think about it long term again. We're not looking at 4-hour price moves or 1-hour price moves here. I'm looking for daily price action and daily consistency. So I'm 100% out of Tezos at the moment. I do like the reaction we've had around here, but the next sort of 12 hours, 13 hours will be more telling of where we're headed. Similar with Algorand, we hit our exact take profit here at 3,066 sats. Yes, we got a little bit of a move to the upside post that, but not a terrible reaction off or very close to this conversion line here on our Ichimoku. But I'm not really liking where we sit with this. The fact that we've broken back through now this 200 MA. Yes, we've wicked off and sort of had this sort of pin bar, but that's not giving me too much confirmation because that could simply just be a pin bar in the direction of the new trend. And keeping in mind too, where we entered back down here, it was 22% that we had, or 28%. So, we've had 34% from this move, and from down here, we've had a 42% move. So even a cool off or a move as sort of big as this, as you will, is still not unhealthy. I would really like to see us hold above this 2650 sat mark. And in fact, I might even set a couple of alerts down at that level just in case we get there. Sorry, this is for selfish reasons. This is for myself. So 2707 is where I will see what happens. But we had some really, really good trades on Algo. So I'm happy to sort of just sit back a little bit and just wait to get further confirmation of what the market is telling me, rather than rushing into positions and feeling like just because things have pulled back, well, they must be pulling back to a point where we're able to run again. It's not quite like that. A little bit of a different story with Cosmos or Atom on the smaller time frames. I know we've got some fundamental news coming up for this very shortly as well. This is looking very similar. We've got this sort of angled broadening sort of wedge thing here, but this looks very similar to what ZRX did before it had his move, very similarly again to ADA BTC before it had its second round of moves upwards. This was a phenomenal trade. We ended up taking just under 60% on this one. It was 55% where I exited on this. And we were almost, I think we were within 2% of our overall target, our top target. So again, on the daily, steamroller giving us some really oversold conditions here, but this is the alert that I've got set here now, back down at 3970 sats, just above our Kumo and just above our 38, because as we know, these regions of significance can sometimes get front run before continued moves up. So that is looking quite similar to me as ADA did before its next move up. We know ADA has the Shelley fork coming up shortly. Cosmos has its own quite heavy fundamental sort of news, which could definitely continue this up. And that would be the time where I do kind of ignore what the indicators are telling me. So at the moment, no active trades. This daily is not looking great. So I will wait and sort of trust my TA. If this is broken, we may get a little move to the upside, but you can see now with these candle wicks here, it's really trying to be forced down quite a bit. So this level, as I outlined, 3970, is looking more significant to me at this stage. Ion is looking a little bit more positive, and I say this because we've got this formation, and anybody who knows how I trade alts knows that this is something that I typically will pay attention to. We've had a run up on an altcoin, a pullback from not only from the diagonal, but from this 78.6 that's been drawn up for eons. And we are now coming back to test the reaction, or to test this line at 1182 and this 50 fib mark. We also have this descending wedge. So this is a significant sort of play for me, in the sense that if it were any other time, I would be in this coin right now. But with how BTC and the other markets are reacting, I'm just going to err on the side of caution here. We got this MA cluster here, which is this support where I do have my alert set at 1140. But what is good for this is that we have cloud support. We've now got 50 support. Yes, they're looking a little overbought on the daily time frame, but I think on the 4 hourly, we could potentially have another move up. But I would only be looking at maybe, well, not only, but I'd maybe only be looking at around anywhere between sort of 6 to 9% of that. Our Stotch is very close to turn, as is our RSI, and Steamroller's coming towards over sort of sold conditions. So if we did break down from here further, I would be looking back down towards this 50 MA, or excuse me, the 100 MA and cloud support, where I think I might just adjust that a fraction. Yep. To 1153 is where I'll be looking for that if this doesn't break up. But Ion was another really phenomenal trade, so I'm not going to get greedy. Matic had a nice little move overnight. Unicon gave us the signal right at the 241 mark, where you could have yielded 5.778%. Not bad for a couple of hours work. Matic is seeing some really nice volume coming into it at the moment. So I'm not going to discount it just yet, but a number of alts looking like they want to sort of pull back on the daily, where I might set my next alert, but I'll set this for myself. Would maybe be back down around this level. We might even just remove, actually, I'll keep those on. Yeah, so that lines up pretty well with my 50 fib, where I would be looking potentially for the next little bit of a reaction there. WRX, as I said and have said a number of times, once we see Matic having a move, we often would expect to see something similar on WRX, which we saw overnight, did 5.68% as well. Looking for the reaction at this particular point here, to see if we get a wick and a close above this 1516 mark. Looking similar in the sense that we could have this potential move up. Steamroller has given us a potential entry condition. RSI, our MACD is about to turn. Excuse me, our Stotch RSI has turned. Our MACD is turning there, and our RSI has now given us a little bit of a confirmation. I'm just going to have a quick look here to see. So we've seen a 20% increase in volume in the last 24 hours. And you would know, looking at that comes very close to meeting some of my conditions that I've shared inside UTGU and in the past. I'm going to watch that. I'm definitely going to watch WRX and see the reaction that we have there. So what we might do...
Set an alert, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to. And I'm going to set this for everyone. And we could potentially see, oops. Cool. So we'll do that. And then I think 23%, but we can see we've got cloud support there and a nice sort of bounce up. So it's daily not looking great. 4-hour looking more promising for a move. So I would be keeping an eye on WRX. ZIL, my beloved ZIL, has pretty much rejected where I thought it might, just slightly higher than that on this parallel channel here. We're now coming back down to cloud support, MA support, and very near to this 27 support where we've had nice reactions in the past. That looks similar to kind of a little bit similar to OMG in the sense that we just linger within this channel here. So looking at the daily, steamrollers giving us another oversold conditions. A lot of it indicate, excuse me, on the 4-hour, not looking great. So if this 27 can't hold, then I think we might come back down towards this sort of quite low 200s sort of level on the daily. Bearish TK cross. Yeah, so this 200 level might be looking a little bit more likely. It's a shame because I'm never tied to my bag so much, but ZIL was really good to me this year, and it's a shame. Yeah, definitely some decreasing volume in that. A number of alts not looking too good, but there's still opportunity out there. ONT. This was one that rejected essentially perfectly off the 50 fibs. And we're now sitting right above this 200 MA. We could potentially have a little bounce off here, but admittedly, it's not looking great. Yeah, ONT not looking too good there, so I'm not going to pay a hell of a lot of attention to that. QTUM continuing to push up, and I know this is because there's been a good bit of volume coming into QTUM over the last few days. 617 daily BTC volume, $159 million market cap, consistently increasing volume. And I spoke about QTUM, and that I think at the time when I looked at it last time, it was around 513 million last week. So we're starting to see 513 BTC volume. So starting to see a good bit of volume come into QTUM. There could be some sort of fundamental news. I'm not 100% sure on that, but these are the levels that I've outlined on Thursday. And you can see they've been very, very well respected since then. If I were looking at that from a technical standpoint in terms of Ichimoku, quite bullish. We've got Chiku breaking out throughout the cloud. We've now got a cloud breakout. Beautiful edge-to-edge trade that played out there. Unicon giving us the perfect point of entry or consideration signal there, and a bullish Kumo twist. So looking at the 2-day, if this can continue upwards, I want to see an increase in this daily volume if that were to continue upwards. I think that could be every bit of a possibility, potentially coming. I probably wouldn't say that, but I would say probably back around this level, at least here for another 15%, coming quite close now to being exhausted. We haven't yet got the oversold signal. It could be very similar to this. We see a push, a slight pullback, this sporadic move over the course of a couple of days, and then a pullback. So ERD, sure. And that lines up pretty well. So I might do not take this as gospel, by the way. This is just this is me. Cool bananas. And just very quickly, I'm going to ignore these other ones. XLM and Dusk. Dusk is one that I've been trading actively. Have a look at it and TA it yourself. Coming to XRP BTC. Now, this is why I am interested in this. Now, I don't want to get.
I've
I
never
don't want to
heard
be.
that before in my life.
I don't want to be made a fool of from this, but XRP would be the coin to do it to me. Each time we've had this reaction off this diagonal, although it's drawn different to what some people might sort of draw, it's been a nice little reaction from there. The reason why I'm looking at this at the moment, I'm going to get rid of this VWAP, is because we're close to this bullish TK cross. Yes, we've had a move to the upside, but I'm looking now, at least on the 4 hour, for the reaction that we're having here. And I feel like they could be a little bit in this if we can maybe just dwindle down a little bit further, potentially down to this sort of C clamp level here at around 2097 sat marks, and maybe another move up. I'm not taking any entries on this just as of yet, but I would like to see a reaction potentially back up towards this this Kumo. Unicorn giving us a beautiful entry signal there. And this is why I'm looking at these levels. We reacted off the 100. We could potentially come back down as low as this, again, this 2097 sat mark, and then maybe even just ping pong in between this sort of level, but a break above there would be really nice. And then I would expect this to potentially continue up. So that's the only time and the only reason I'll ever be looking at XRP. Cool. All right. What was the other one we're looking at? ERD.
Yeah, ERD.
Oh, the tether pair or the BTC pair?
No, BTC.
Cool. So that was that was the entry signal, or the entry that we had tied in, and we had Unicorn set as well. So it did give the signal there at 63 sats. Has done a lazy 173% since then. Full transparency, I was not in on that trade, unfortunately.
I was.
Yeah, that's good for you, bro. No, so I think this is another one of those IEOs. I think it was one of the Binance IEOs that had launched. So I'm not even gonna bother commenting on this or really charting this, but I will anyway. Here we go. Still a ton of volume in this. 6.5% decrease on the daily, 33% less, but still 70% less than it was 7 days ago. That makes sense. 16% decrease in the last day. It's starting to creep up now a little bit. The smaller time frames are starting to look more and more bearish, and this could potentially creep up into here. Although, admittedly, when we have seen the ERDs in the past, and I can't remember which ones they were.
Ravencoin, maybe.
Was Coddy one of them? Yeah, I think Coddy was one of them as well, where they tend to have these massive moves, these massive sell-offs, and then they kind of continue. It could be one of these ones. Chili's was I think maybe another one. One I think was one. But yeah, for me, I'm happy to catch cheeky little pullbacks like FET, for example, last night. That was like a a 2 hour trade for me before everything sort of pulled back, and I completely exited only for like 6 or 7% profit on that one. But when I'm in these coins, they are not really long-term holds for me because of the volatility is too much. Like 5 or 6 sats could be quite a bit when it's like a 45 or a 55 sat coin. And if you don't have proper risk management in place,
Gets
that's a lot of,
dangerous.
yeah, that's definitely a lot of dollars there. So if I were looking potentially at some sort of condition, it probably would be back around here. We don't even have the data to be able to give us much information as to what the indicators are really telling us.
The only thing that I've found with this is the only way you're going to get upside targets is what you've done with the fibs and trend based fibs as well.
Yeah,
It's the only way you're going to get it. And then for pullbacks and bits and pieces, you can use confirmed tops with fibs. You can use some supply and demand on small time frames, but that's pretty much it. There's nothing else.
yeah. No, yeah, there's really not much there. Still a large amount of volume coming into that, but the first coins to pull back severely when we have little market corrections or little market breathers are coins like this. So these are the ones where you really want to just be buying the dips and holding it, not trying to predict tops or bottoms. You're far better off waiting for a confirmation of an entry before you jump in rather than just jumping in on a whim kind of thing. RVN, someone did remind me of RVN. I think it was you just then. Was a quick one. This one, this was our signal, or we do not give signals. This was our entry condition or our point to consider last night was 227 sats. Unicorn fired off, giving us the signal to have a little bit of a look, and from there she did. And again, I was not in this. What did it do? Did 16% overnight. So looking at where we are now with this, sitting right here now on this, and it wicked directly back off our 227 mark there. So that was that was quite well played. Sitting now above the Kumo, as is our Chiku. Again, the next daily close is going to be what I'm going to be paying attention to for anything going on. Yeah, not a bad little reaction there. I would like to see this hold above this 234 sat mark, but again on the 4 hour looking pretty cooked. Yet again, even on the smaller time frame. So the only one where I'd be looking at this and saying, well, that doesn't look half bad right now is the daily, but we certainly are approaching potentially tops of moves here, which is a shame. Like when we see these little mini alt season things go, it brings a tear to your eye. RVN, so on the daily, yeah, looking pretty cooked. A lot of the smaller time frames now are starting to look a little bit more bullish. A little bit more bearish. RVN, a lot of volume coming into it. The day one move, 21%, 829% increase on volume. That certainly would satisfy a lot of criteria. High liquidity index, lower market cap, a lot of BTC coming into that. So you know what? I will pay attention to RVN purely because from that side of things, it doesn't look half bad. And one thing that we see a lot with moves, particularly when it comes to the Kumo, is quite severe moves in retests, and then this sort of thing, and then our Chiku will continue sort of breaking out afterwards. So this area down here. I think this area maybe sort of back down here might be a little bit more significant. So let's see what this does, and then we will play this play by play. Obviously, I'll be charting this like don't do that. Probably because the daily hasn't closed yet. We'll keep that there for the meantime, and then I will post a new chart when I look at this in the morning anyway. So there we go. So that's the alt scan for today. I don't think these alt runs are over. You've just got to know where to look. I'll be posting a little bit more about how I chart alts and sharing that for you, so you can sort of see how we scan the market. But we'll be back on Thursday night for another scan ads. Is there anything that you wanted to share with anyone before we call it a night?
No, you've covered everything that I wanted to see. ERD did a lot of forex bits and pieces, so I think I'm fairly content with what we shared tonight, bro. I think it's been a good session.
Yeah, there are a ton of these that I still want to pay a little bit of attention to. IOTA is one of them. Myth, that was a Myth is another one that I'm paying attention to. NAS was one as well. Looking for some reactions from there. Lend. That was just spastic, the run that has had. Here I am with my pathetic 16%, and it's done something like, what? 130% since then. Fuck my life. ICX. Ah, shit. I wasn't even in that, but I would have got that. That would have been nice. Dusk. Yeah, so there's actually still a few nice little alt setups that I'm looking at that I'll share with you tomorrow. But again, don't rush into any positions. Wait for the market to cool. Do not think that you've missed opportunities when it comes to trading anything, because you have not. There are always other opportunities that present. Or if you've done well during this little mini alt thing, kick back, relax, take the time to learn, and wait for the next one. Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us for this first Tuesday night open session. If you have more suggestions on things you might want to see, things we can cover, maybe educational content that you might want to see on a nightly basis, Tuesday, Thursday nights, let us know, and we'll be sure to factor it in. And we are just getting warmed up. We have so much in the pipeline to share completely free of charge with everyone here in UTGU. So looking forward to sharing a lot of that with you in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you on Thursday night, 7:30 Melbourne time, right here.
See you then.
Take care. Bye.